Convo.
Welcome back to Candid Conversations with Carmen. I'm your host, Carmen, and this is my side host,
Ashley.
and our wonderful producer, T-nugget.
T-nugget.
And oh my gosh. And we are back with another episode. And today I am really excited. So Lanessa doesn't know this, but we announced on the last episode that this is the final season of the podcast.
No way.
And so we are so excited. We are having some of our favorite former guests come back. And when we discussed this, I was like, can Lanessa come back? And so I was like, can you do it? And she was like, yes. She was like, I do it. So without further ado, I'm gonna just say Lanessa, and then we'll get into it. Lanessa.
Hello. Hi, you guys. Thank you for having me back.
Yes.
Feel so honored, I don't know. I thank God, the opportunity. But let's get into it, you guys.
Ooh, okay. I mean, I kicked it off last episode. Mm-hmm. So, Ashley, do you want to kick it off this episode?
Did you kick it off?
I did.
Oh, well, I forgot. Well, I know that last time we talked, we were going through all the things. So maybe give us a little rundown of like what's been going on with you since we last saw you. What was it, like a year and a half ago? 2 years?
I think it's like 2 years.
2 years ago. That because I think. Yeah, in 2 years, I know you before you were working at Chick-fil-A. You have been working there for a long time.
You had read the God is a Matchmaker book?
God is a Matchmaker.
We talked about it.
I said, I'm going to give you that.
And I did get that book.
And I told you, we were talking about how you wanted to be in a relationship and the God-fearing and how you were just trying to move and maneuver in that. And just that you were trying to make different moves in your life. So, catch us up. 2 years.
Just hearing the recap, I'm like, wow, life really, what you speak becomes. So within that 2-year time frame, I'm no longer at Chick-fil-A. I am at ADP, a payroll rep. Woo-hoo. Okay. I save lives, to be honest. Payroll, it takes you there, but some reason my brain likes it. I am also married. So no longer, I still enjoy Lanessa Northcutt, but I am now Lanessa Williams. So at this point, we're cousins.
Right.
We are cousins. All Williams have to be related. And then just life, God-fearing. My spouses definitely God-fearing. Marriage, I don't feel like is scary, but it brings you to a new level of, dang, I was selfish when I was single. And sometimes it's okay, but it matures you to say, you know what, it's different, but it's not wrong. Mm-hmm. Or, I guess I can see your way. And actually, what if the whole time, like, I know I'm so used to doing certain things the way I've been doing it. And now it's like, if you would have gave me this wisdom earlier, I could have been, I like this way. Actually, let's keep this one and add it to what we have. So that's what's been going on with me. Just trying to navigate through adulthood. Understanding that if you don't have debt, you're actually a little more richer. And just trying to understand how to be peaceful at life. So that's where I'm at.
So you were talking about like, your being married and how that's kind of shifted how you think about life. And of course that this is a new stage in life, but how has that affected like your walk with God and how you were previous in your single season? Because you were talking about you were trying to grow closer to God last time and how you were really working towards your relationship with him. So how does that work?
It draws you closer because dating, you only see a certain part of someone because you're not living with them. But marriage is like, now God, I can handle things, but like, even simple things like me say, and I think it's like common. I don't know if it's common, but when it comes to like certain tasks of, not cleaning, but cooking. Yeah. And when I cook, I'm like, okay, I'm wiping as I go. Yeah. And then, your spouse decides to cook and you're like, oh, You're like, but still understanding that, you know what? Who am I to say
that
you know,
your way is the only way?
Yeah, my way is the only way. And it is, again, different. But asking God to say, give me this grace. Show me how to love my spouse. Because I do want to be able to, for them to feel comfortable. And it's not just, oh, Lanessa got married and everything is her way and you have to do it my way. I can budge a little. So it does draw you closer. and you realize, like, so it makes you ask certain questions, like, even people who experience marriage and been married for forever, or even a year or even 3 months, what is, like, I need advice in this. Are y'all going through this too? So just having people that understands, and it's like, no, that's not strange. That's normal. But these are the tools you need to get over it. And when you look at life of how to love him versus how I want him to be loved, I want you to be loved like this, but he may not receive it that way. I have to learn how he takes in love. So, and I can only thank God, because if I could have it my way, I'd be like, look, these are my rules, and no, you can't do this. But I enjoy being able to understand someone else's mindset and saying, you know what, my way wasn't, not saying my way was wrong, but it's different ways.
Okay. And during this season, have you built a community, like you were talking about, of married people that you can connect with? I'm
still building, because again, you have to, you can't let everyone, not saying you can't let everyone in, but everybody advice may not be the advice you need to hear at that time.
Yeah.
And, or some people advice, they say, oh, I gave you all this advice. I don't see you utilizing it. I may use a portion of it, but that doesn't mean, I have to take in everything. So I'm still building my village of the married, people. And some people, marriages, no judgment, they're different. And it may be like, well, I'm
that
happy.
Don't work.
Yeah, that may not work for us. But if you do what you do, you do what you do. Yeah. So just understand, like, you can't just throw all your concerns, or sometimes you do have to vent. But whomever you vent to, they have to understand that it's not personal. Sometimes you just got to release how you feeling, and then say, I just want you to hear me out. And then you listen to yourself and say, I'm selfish. Yeah, I could have delivered that better. It teaches you how to deliver certain messages, how to be peaceful, even though it's like, sometimes I have conversations in my mind like, okay, I want to ask this question, but I don't want to attack him because then he shuts down. Or, so how do I say it where he receives what I'm saying, and it's not like you don't think I'm good enough. No, it's like, no, it's not that. It's just, so I'm still learning that part.
I was watching a podcast a couple of days ago with Tabitha Brown and Kevin on stage and his wife, and they were talking about how they had made it to 20 years in marriage and what steps that they had made it to. And he was like, one of the things that he really had to learn was the style of communication, because he would come into it like, I'm thinking like this, and this is how it is, and I'm do and I'm going into it, and he would still feel like his wife was trying to attack him and everything like that, and she'd be like, no. After they started going through therapy or whatever, and they had started actually being able to communicate with one another in a way, and she was like, no, you don't understand. Before I have these conversations with you, just like you were saying, I'm having 50 million scenarios go through my mind and looking at how you respond to it, and then I choose the best one that I think will get the best result, so that real. I don't have to.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't want you to always feel like I'm attacking you. I'm on your team. Yeah. So if I'm saying something, it's because, I feel like, sometimes even in a marriage, and then, of course, when you're single, you have friends. And sometimes you're like, I don't want you to say, leave your friends, but sometimes those friends aren't good. And it's not that, like, they may need to be loved from a distance, because if you think about it, and I'm very analytical, I'm like, if you think about it, they're reaching out for something. They're never saying, hey, how's it going?
Yes.
And I'm like, I want you to make that decision. This is just my what is it? My opinion on it. It could be different. Mm-hmm. Don't take it where you have to, because I'm not here to say, nope, let that friend go. I'm not here to do that. But sometimes you just like, I don't feel like their intentions is doing you any well, and it's more so hindering because you're giving so much and they're taking, and they're not pouring into you. But if that's the friend you choose, I'm like, well, I'm just keep praying. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, you guys don't, oh man, and I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh God, I'm thankful you was able to remove that person at that time, but I want them to be able to see it. And then same with me, like if you feel like I'm around company whom does me no well, maybe I can't see it at that moment, because sometimes we are in denial and we're like, no, or we always want to save someone, and we're like, we have to be, that close because we've known each other since we were 3. And sometimes it's like seasons.
Yes,
absolutely.
And it's okay to, what, my fun has shifted. It looks different. My fun may be going at home and going down the canvas aisle or the rug. My fun may not be what it was when I was younger. And what's that fun, or what's that me just trying to figure out life? So seasons. Yeah.
Do you feel like, kind of segue on that, like with you, because you had some real changes, like major life changes in a short period of time. Yeah. Like we said, 2 years since the last time you were here. You switched careers. You got all married. You know what I mean? Like, so
moved out of your parents' house, moved out of your own house
into your own home. How has that impacted, and you kind of touched on a little bit, your relationships with everyone around you? Because everything's changing. Did you kind of try to hold on to those things that were like stable? Or
it's hard, because sometimes I'm in a space now where I'm trying to, well, I don't know. It's hard for me to, how sometimes, or for me, sometimes in my mind, I see myself being able to stretch myself here, and there. But when reality comes, I'm like, am I reaching out enough? I may not be able to be there, but how do I be present when I can't be present?
Yeah.
And that is hard to navigate, because it's like you have to, when you get married, you have to, understand your marriage. Everyone can't be in it. But it's like, but my friends understand, like Lanessa, you going through a season where we may not be able to pick up the phone, but those times when we do, it's like we never left. It's the same. It's like, oh my goodness, I needed this relaxation, and then it's back to, reality. And even with job wise, I'm really ready to retire, so I'm praying that God blesses my husband to retire me early. But because it's not going to work or working. It's punching in on someone's time, trying to figure out if I want to be off, I want to be off. I don't want to have to go through protocol. So with career, I'm still doing it because I understand what we have to do. Yes. And my mindset is, we know what we have, so we know that I can't just miss days and be like, I don't work. One day, I'm hoping, Yeah. Maybe that's my desire, but not my calling to do. Maybe I am supposed to work until I retire, but But so it's hard. Yeah. But I'm learning, and I try to, when people follow me or follow my heart, I try to reach out and be like, hey, just checking in. I may not be able to, hey, let's go out on Saturday, because I'm like, I can't be every Saturday out with you guys, because then, I feel like I'm neglecting, my spouse, and then my spouse is like, have fun, but at the same time, I have to balance that, not too much individual fun, but still is okay to have. Yes. And then even for him, enjoy, like, where to come home, but and enjoy, not too crazy, but so it's hard, but I'm learning.
And I was just thinking about it too, because you hadn't really ever lived away from home before.
No, but that transition, I enjoyed it, because I treated my room like my own apartment but I was living in a space that wasn't mine because it's my parents.
Right.
So I may want to restructure something, and I'm like, this is not my house, or whatever I like. They may be like, take it down. This is my, always a reminder. This is my house. So it was like, oh. But when we was able to move out, it's like, all of this is mine. Like, I can have my living. I can switch it up when I want.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like, oh, how do you want this? My spouse is really like, how do you see it? I mean, I may pitch in this and I'm like, you ever seen that? It was something where they was throwing in pillows and the wife was like, no, we're not getting that one. I have those moments sometimes, but now I have space to let my mind explore how I want my space to look. So I enjoyed that transition, and having siblings, sharing. I learned how to share once I was born, like straight out the womb. Didn't even know I was going to be into a family who had 5 kids. So sharing that wasn't hard for me to understand with my spouse, but being able to come home and your food is in the fridge and untouched, and I love it. So that wasn't a hard transition. And then I'm closer to work. So when I was at home with my parents, I was further from work, but now I'm closer. So
it worked out.
Yeah, that transition. It was like, I was like, all right, let's do this. But then I wouldn't say the hard part, but the difference was when I was at my parents' house, my bills were limited, and now it's like, oh, I have, this due every month. But he came from a family of budgeters. So that was something I knew how to hold on to money, but he knows how to budget and save. So the fact that I can hold on, I have discipline, but being able to budget, place it here, know where every dollar go, that's what I'm learning now. So it's like, even though we have bills, we have bills, but right. I'm not like, oh my God, it's like we working, and we know how much we need to work, make sure that the account looks lovely. So when they draft it, no overdraft fees. So yeah.
I have a question, and you can answer this or not, because when you talked about the fees, because a lot of people have said when you get married, don't combine the finances or combine the finances.
So my parents grew up one pot, and when we went through counseling, so that's all I knew, and my mindset is, if I got it, you got it. I don't have anything to hide. So if we decide to have it in one, we all have our own, we know what bills we have to pay, so nothing should be shorted. You should be able to spend and know that I'm not going to overspend, because my family depends on whatever. So pretty much just, I'm okay with one account. Yeah. Like, I wasn't, what's mine's is mine's and what's yours is mine's. I wasn't like that. I was open to, like, it makes sense. Like, I don't want to have to, can you send me this? Or I'm not sure what you have, but I have this. We see what we have. We know what we have. We know what we can do. We know not to overextend what we don't have, because at the end of the day, we can't give more than what we actually have. So yeah, I agree with the one pot. Like, your money, my money. This is what I have. This is what I got. You see it. I'm nothing to hide. But if you want me to, push something to the back, oh yes, I will save some, in a stash. But you know about it. You have the pin to the safe. Like, if you ever need to get into it, this card is the emergency card. This is where it's located. So, yeah.
Carmen, what about you? What do you think about that? Like, I know you're not married, but if in the future you were to get married, what would you do?
It's a lot of what ifs in this.
It is.
No, I've already told you. I told you this. I feel like when people, again, a lot of things are specific to your relationship. If that works for you, yes. Like, some people separate, right?
But it still works for them,
and it works for them. Yeah. And then for some people, one pot, like you said, a little something. Maybe you squirreling away a little something. You have a little side account, or you have a group account, and you each have your own account. But I think that again, to your point, is like, is your household running properly, and will you be resentful if let's say we have a group pot together.
And then someone is pulling a little bit more, and you're like,
And you're like,
I saw that you went to McDonald's and we was eating at, I cooked at the house. So
right.
You're overspending. Yeah.
Right.
I can't lie. At the beginning, because so I had an incident when I was younger working at Chick-fil-A. Mm-hmm. And somehow I went to McDonald's, ordered a Sprite, $1. Mm-hmm. And my card was declined. And I'm like, I have money in the bank. What happened? And the bank was pretty much like, when you're younger, your siblings all, and if this person, I didn't even look into it. So I was always at a point where I had to have money. I'm not going under. In that one experience, I was over there checking. In my marriage, I'm over here checking, making sure. But then I had to understand that he said he will provide. So I have to let that 15-year-old Lanessa, who had $300 at the bank at that time, maybe it's $200, but the fact that I couldn't afford $1 Sprite because it was no funds in there was like, and it wasn't even on me. That really scarred me to where I'm like, I have to have money. I can't go below this because I want to afford $1 Sprite from McDonald's. Right. So right now I'm just learning to not what bills we have to pay. So if something happens, and I spend sparingly. I'm not frugal, but I'm not an overspender. But when it's time to spend, it's budgeted for. So it's really not spending too much because it's like I already planned to, spend it so I can go crazy, but, not too crazy. So
no, that's really good.
Yeah.
And how do you, like you said, early on, you were like, wait a minute. This is 15-year-old me checking the bill, not me now. Mm-hmm. How do you continue to trust somebody else, because you're having to trust someone fully that's not you, and rely on them, and then not let past either childhood situations or the old things that you've seen or experienced negatively influence the way that you respond or react?
It's really prayer. I had to be like, God, apparently me checking the account every 2 minutes is, doing something irritating him or something like that. And I was like, give me the desire to know that we will have the funds that we need. He said he will provide. Lanessa, he will provide. You shouldn't have to check don't train yourself to not check the account. Mm-hmm. It is what it is, unless you just have to be like, oh, okay, I have to look at this because I want to make sure, I pay my tithes. I was like, did I pay? Sometimes I'm like, did I pay? Let me see, because I know I got paid. But sometimes you have to, but it's not like I was literally every 2 minutes like, oh, gotta make sure, because we can't be broke, Yes. And just that one experience, it's like, no, I can't go back there. But now it's like, if you happen to go back there, God is still gonna provide, and it's probably a reason that it could have been this amount didn't post, so you really not there. So I have to just train myself and just understand that it's going to be there. It's going to be enough. You don't have to check it. You don't have to. So it's the progress of working. But yeah, so I rarely check it now. So I do see it had to be growth, because in that middle of moving from, it was hard because I'm just like 15, Lanessa with no money. You know, we can't be broke. We can't be broke. We got to make it, So
and did that put you in a place of anxiety and fear?
No, it was, you have to learn, at some point you have to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And that it wasn't anxiety, because my spouse said, I'm going to make sure it's always something. And I had to explain, because he didn't know that experience until I said, this is what happened and these are the reasons why I check it. Because when this happened, I couldn't afford $1. I keep going back to, or I used to go back, I couldn't afford $1 Sprite. Who? Why? I work. But so when he understood what I experienced, it's like, I'm going to make sure it's always something there. So I trust him enough to, he's going to make sure that Lanessa can afford $1 Sprite at McDonald's. Yeah. So,
that's a lot of trust.
That's what I'm like, that is what you have to have.
Even just thinking about that made my stomach just go
drop a little bit.
Yeah, drop a little bit. To be like, I have to trust you, right, to say that you're going to have. I was
because you're used to being
in
able to
my
have
mind-
yourself. Like
because
I
in my
got
mind,
me.
I'm like,
Yes, you
I
like,
trust you, but
we
I
gon-
trust me too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be good.
Yeah, you like I
Yes.
got mine. I know that, but go ahead.
But I think with the I trust you, but I trust me, I trust him enough to, because I haven't seen any examples where it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then even though I know I trust me, I'm mentally I'm still like, I'm not gonna do too much. Or before I make this big purchase, let me just check in. This is what I'm thinking of purchasing. So I'm trying to, not check the account. It's just, I'm about to make this purchase. I don't want it. I don't want it to be like not approved, decline. Because
Right.
saying that, it's just, it does something to you.
I know. When
Yeah.
you walk up there and they be like, your car,
I
that's
think
right.
it
And you
really
like,
it really comes from when your parents left you in the grocery store and it's like, I gotta get that one item.
And you're looking
And
back
you're like, oh, do I put the groceries up? I don't have any money. So it's like,
I don't want to be embarrassed.
yes,
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
that is the thing. And it wasn't, now that you speak of it, it was embarrassment. I'm embarrassed because I'm at the window and I'm like,
And the thing is, usually they'll hand you your drink before you pay.
it's like, do I give it back? But you always have that change on the side.
Yeah.
You like, it's
You
okay.
be hopeful. You be counting
Yeah.
one. Do I have some quarters in here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have to trust.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. For those who do, congratulations.
Yeah.
But it's a journey to trust the decisions, because in a marriage, like, it's like, if you think that's the best decision, let's go with it. And then sometimes in our marriage, it's like, so what are your thoughts on it though? I think this way. What are your thoughts? Do we have a middle? Sometimes it's no middle. Sometimes it's okay. We both agree. Wow. Sometimes it's like, I don't know, but I'm trying to, and then in my mind, I'm like, it better work out. It better work out. It better work out. But I'm learning I have to trust the process. I have to trust that he is going to make the best decision he feels is best for us. And if it crashes, am I still going to be there to support him, which I am? Okay, that didn't work. What can we do next? Okay, we found out that didn't work. Let's keep trying until we find. So that's,
I know that we jumped right into just you being married, but let's talk up to that point. So you were single. I think,
oh yeah.
when we first
She's like,
when we last saw you. So what was that like in the 2 years? Like 2 years? Did y'all meet in 2020? It's 2024, so 2022.
When I did the podcast, I was dating.
yes, she was.
I was
she was
new.
like, she said,
I was newly dating.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So when we did it, I was newly dating, and I think it was like, how do you know if he's the one?
Yes.
And to me, it was more so in the past, I didn't really date, and I think everybody would say, "Oh, we thought you had someone, or you look put together." I was like, I wasn't. I was not put together. Who is put together? No one. Like, it was like, give me a chance. Yeah. But so those who would approach me, it's like, wow, you actually approached me. Of course, they have to look decent, but I would, give chances. Why not? Like, I'm not getting serious. I'm just trying to, see what life is.
Yeah.
And it was always that, so tell me about yourself. And I'm upfront, like, hey, I want to wait till marriage. I don't want to do these things. And it was always, we understand, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it came a point in time where it was like, so, and it was like, no, like I told you up front. So I knew those was not going to work. Our differences in that one area, everything else could have been great, but I wasn't going to say, you know what, I'm going to just, because I knew what I wanted. And when I met my spouse, he was like, okay, sure. I mean, if that's what you want, that's cool. And I was like, you think it's cool? You're like, you for real? And then in the back of my mind, it was like, okay, we're going to see. But it was never a moment. So it was like, and then just us together and just things we just enjoyed, how natural the conversation was. We could be doing nothing but enjoyed each other's presence. Our mindset was, what do you want? It wasn't just, oh, we go together. It was more like, do we want a life together? I want a life with a spouse who has these desires. What are your? We talked about our desires, what we wanted. One thing I knew when it came to family, his family is amazing. When it comes to marriage, who you marry is important, because if you're in a marriage where your families do not get along, when you guys have offsprings, that's gonna cause more.
Yeah.
So being mindful of like, hi, I want a family who treats me as beautiful as my parents treat. I want someone who loves just Lanessa, just authentic Lanessa, not put together Lanessa, and just that's what it was. So it was always, okay, I enjoy, you guys remind me of my parents, and you guys are his parents. You know, that's crazy, but beautiful at the same time. So that's another way I knew as well. So
okay, so y'all was just traveling. So that he was who you were seeing. When you were, okay.
Yes, that was
Yes. But no, I know you have to clarify, because somebody be like, yeah, I was seeing somebody at that time,
But,
and, you know, and you know, and now I'm married, but then you don't know the middle part of it, and it was like, well, that wasn't actually the person I was with. I met him 2 months down the line, and then it was great, but he showed himself to be that person at that time, because I remember you saying, you know, he's upfront, he's telling me all these different things, he's treating me well, and so I mean, we're here. So.
yeah, we made it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, this is like I'm just still shook on how much change has happened over such a little period of time, and you're handling it well. Because I'm always like,
I am.
I mean,
honestly, day by day, it has its moments, but I guess.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah.
So when you talked about how you have, like, your idea of fun has changed, and the friends that are your friends are still your friends. You maybe just don't connect with them as frequently, but like, for people that you had to kind of release, like, hey, you know, that season is past. Did you have to have a conversation, or was it just like they're gonna phase out?
I've been the same Lanessa. I don't have too many people in my. So when it comes to, or I know a good friend based on whatever decision I make. Okay, Lanessa, how can we support you? Not judging my walk with God, not judging the fact that, you know, I may do something different, or maybe I'm not too party, but maybe a lounge versus a club. Someone who embraces, or just like, Lanessa, I just love you. Even though I may be a little bit different, I may be a little wilder friend, but we still close. So I didn't have to have that, ooh, I'm gonna have to cut this person off because, you know, they just not fitting in my box. It was never that for me, because of the friends I did.
The friends you had were
Your
solid.
circle wasn't just so huge anyway. It was a solid.
My sister's spouse would say, I have circles inside of circles. I don't have circles inside of circles, but like, my circle is real. It's real petite. And maybe in this journey, I may begin to have circle inside of circles, because certain things I may need different advice on a different level. So
I think that's one of the key things. Like, my friend group is so diverse, because I have, especially one of my best friends, she's married. Well, both of my best friends are married, but she's married, but then we have our goal friends that we have, and so it's a mix of people who are married, people who've been divorced, people who are single and out here in these streets, and there's others that are not as out and about, and then the only thing is, I think I'm the only one that doesn't have children, so all of the other ones have children, and so, but in that thing, they also have their groups of friends that they have that are specific to, like, somebody that can talk to them about their children, who can talk to them about being married, or the backside of not being married, like being married and then not being married. I think it's being able to encapsulate and not be upset when you fit here in this space right here. You are my friend, but you may not understand all aspects of where my life is, and being okay with like, I am relegated to this area, and it's not even being relegated. It's just knowing that I don't have the capacity. I can't really talk to you about the marriage side of it.
Yeah, give you advice on how to handle
I can
your
give you
husband.
advice on kids. All I know is you spare the rod, you spoil the child, whoop them. I'm just kidding. That's
But I mean, sometimes, but then even like I might not know everything about marriage, but sometimes God will give you advice for somebody, even though they are married, that they can utilize in their marriage. Just like their married experience. I'm not married, but what you've learned in this can come and speak to me in where I am to help me in my life and my relationships around me. And I think, and then with the children thing, you know, I don't have them all the time. So I don't have your children or see them all the time. So I don't know all the nuances of those things.
Yeah.
But some things you can say, oh, well, maybe have you thought of this? And then they be like, I have not thought about that. I can do that. And like even one of my other good friends, she's getting ready to go to Japan with her daughter and taking her for the first time.
Oh, that's so
and
beautiful.
she hasn't gone on that long of a trip, but just talking through that. Sometimes you can be a sounding board for people. Like I don't have to give advice. I don't have to do anything, but it's just being available to them. I think it's interesting to see that wide conglomerate of friendships and knowing that, you know, the spaces that you're in. And then like, you might be like, in this season, I need more married friends. So I want to hang out with my more married friends more so than my single friends where I need to, I don't think it's ever a time like when married people just be like, I only need single friends. I think that's going a little left, but, and I mean, you might agree.
It's like, I just need. But I do agree with what you were saying when it comes to advice. I don't have kids, but I've been a kid. And I know how I felt in certain moments where I wanted my parents to hear me more so than assume what I was dealing with.
Yeah.
So when it comes to my sister, you know, she has 2 beautiful kids, my niece and nephew. I see myself sometimes a little bit in my niece. And it's like, even like the other day, I was doing her nails. And you know how you try to have your accent, your nail salon accent.
Yeah.
And I was like, your nail's gonna be $1. And she was like, I don't have $1. I was like, well, you gotta, you know, go home and walk. And she was like, oh my God, don't do my nails. And I was like, oh no, she's sensitive.
Yes.
So I have to be mindful of, you know, I can't maybe joke in this season with her, or maybe how did that make you feel when I said this? Did I hurt your feelings? Because I didn't mean to, and I don't want her to feel like, you know, my joke was something personal to her where she's like, oh, I can't talk to auntie about this because I don't ever want to feel like that again. And as a kid, sometimes we experience things where we're like, oh, I don't want to feel like that. Or last time I did speak up or use my voice, this how it made me feel. So I'm not going to say that because I don't want to embarrass. I don't want to be embarrassed anymore. So I try to, you know.
Yeah.
How you feel? Not the, do you want a whooping today? You're still in a whooping. But, you know, what made you feel so, why are you so angry? Or, you know, what is causing this? Listening to, because they have voices as well. So.
And I think that's one of the key things. I think sometimes they're so small and they have big feelings. And so that was one of the things that with my godson, we were out at a swim park. And he started, like, he was hungry. He was like, I'm so hungry. I was like, we're going to get some food. But then it was like everything he saw, he just wanted. And, you know, that's how you are when you're hungry. And then it was like he was getting ready to throw a fit. And then it was like, you know, at first it's like, I wasn't, but, you know, everybody's like, oh, what is going on? But then, like, having a conversation with him, and he was just like, it's just a lot. Like, you know, but he wasn't saying that as a child. I was like, how are you feeling? He's like, it's just, I was like, are you feeling big feelings? And he's like, yes, I really am. I'm just hungry. And I don't want a pretzel. And I was like, okay. And so, but when he said those things, like, like getting him to be able to think about what it was and not just fall to pieces, but to listen, because he was saying,
he was getting overwhelmed by his emotions.
It was all the things that were going on. He was like, I want the cotton candy, and I want the candy, and I want some chips, and I want all these things. But the first thing that he said was that he wanted a pretzel. And so even though he said he wanted all those things, at the heart of it, he just wanted his pretzel at that moment. Yeah. He ate that pretzel, like, all. But it was like, when he got that, it was like, listen, talk it through. I'm not going to be angry with you. I'm not going to be like, oh, let me fuss. And not that his mom does that either.
Oh,
she's
no.
listening. She's she's always there. But in that moment, it was just being able to say, okay, let me listen to you, not go to, man, why are you doing this? Like, just stand still. We get in the food. But it was like, no.
But I think it's also the capacity that, like Lanessa said, like, I know how I felt as a child. And so I am in touch with how that made me feel. So I understand the why behind where I'm at now. So like, maybe I'm not as vocal in certain situations because I remember that time where I was like, Mom, Dad, this is how it made me feel. And I'm like, girl, hush up. We were fine. Like, you're fine.
And to take you back to that, I had, even in my marriage, I had a hard time articulating my feelings because of, I used to be like, I'm just holding man. It's okay. You know, or I would say everything's good. But my spouse allowed me to articulate and treating and feeling in that little child, how is this making you feel? Now I'm able to, you know what, when something does maybe, you know, ruffle my feathers, I'm still being mindful of my delivery, but I'm able to articulate it at that moment. So I'm not holding on to it, just saying everything's fine, it's okay. No, it's like, no, I need to, you know, I'm not going to bash you, but in this moment, this is how you're making me feel. I want to understand your reason as to why, and this is not him, but to whomever, I just want to understand your reason as to why you felt that way. Because this was my intention on when I said XYZ. So he actually helped that little 3-4-year-old who was, girl, hush up, you don't, you know, you had to take this and, you know, leave. I'm able to, you know what, being able to, because that's the thing, not articulating how you feel. It's like you're always just shut off, and you can't be shut off because something is going on, and eventually it could boil over. It could boil over. Not every situation does, but so.
But it does cause.
It's gonna come out. Yeah. I mean, that's for sure. And I think it's so. I think it's a good thing, even for both of you, to say that it's like, maybe I wasn't heard that same way, but I have a degree of intentionality when I'm interacting with the children in my life and the adults in my life, because really I see how all of these things have impacted me, and having that mindfulness. And I think a lot of times, I mean, I can speak to how I was raised. I mean, I can't speak to anybody else, but I just know that sometimes, and I think that's reflective of how your parents were raised. So if you think just like generations back, it's like, honey, you were surviving. So you didn't have the energy or the time to be sensitive. And now it's like, okay, that really hurt me. Or that was something that maybe it seems like a small thing,
but it was big to me.
It was big to me.
And it's important, or it was important to me.
Exactly.
And that's understanding that, like, a lot of times, even when we brush things off, it's like, oh, that's not important, but to them.
Yes.
And,
exactly. It's being careful to not minimize somebody else's thing, whatever it is. It's like, okay, because like for your niece, it's like, it's your nails, I'm joking, and some people are like, girl, I'm joking, and just leave it at that. But you're like, no, I am joking, but I want you to really understand that.
I think it was like I recognized something that her in its expression, just being mindful of someone else's emotion. You can tell when someone's like, oh, you know, you shut down. It's like, oh, I said something. Let me find out, or you can, I don't care right now, I'm gonna leave it. You have two different plays, and based on how you nurture or take care of that situation will impact. Why are they moving differently? It's like, because you said something I don't know. Like, you're very harsh with your words. And I don't like the way that makes me feel. So, I may have to love you from afar. So, yeah.
Carmen, like, thinking about that, like, we were talking about that little child stuff. What about you? Like, now that you're where you are now, have you been finding things in 29-year-old Carmen that
the age just dropped? Let's not try to put that on the podcast, okay?
It's a beautiful age. Next year I will be 30.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah. What they say?
I think it's gonna be exciting too. I was like, I'm not dreading it, because people be like, oh my gosh, you about to be 30. I'm like,
yeah, but do I look at?
Exactly.
It's like, no, you're giving 17.
But seriously, have you been finding things where little Carmen has been popping up in real in now Carmen's life?
I feel like little you always pops up in your life. I think your ability to see if the little you is popping up is different depending on where you are and how sensitive you are to your emotions and your responses. So yes, because I think I'm more hyper aware of certain things. But I think it's also I've been able to really reflect on a lot of the thought processes that I have or that have been like a consistent basis throughout my life, and just kind of delving back to like, why do I think this way, or like why is this my thought process? And so I'm like, wait a minute, well actually it's because this happened, this moment, this memory. And the thing is that a lot of times I feel like we feel like the thing that happened is so small, you almost are tempted to minimize it.
You believe in, you said it's small, it has to be small, so I need to get over it.
Exactly. And so you're like, oh, you said something mean, that one person said this one thing to me, and it's like I just can't get over it. Like, and you can get over it because, but the thing is the you that's still processing that hurt is the same version of you. So now that I'm 29, I may say, wow, this person, we had a conversation and she said something that was really mean to me when I was 6. And it's like, but the 6-year-old version of me never processed that. So 29-year-old me is like, that was ridiculous because I have the emotional maturity to realize that that was crazy. But 6-year-old me never processed it yet. So it still hits the same way. So it's like I'm 6 when that happens again. So I'm like, oh God, like help me. And so really what has been happening is the Lord has, for one, really has been helping me to acknowledge what I'm feeling. So one is like, you feel mistreated, you feel unheard, you feel unlistened to, you feel betrayed, you feel belittled, whatever that is actually acknowledging the emotion. Because for me, I was always like, you know what, I'm not gonna let anybody control how I feel.
I got this.
Exactly. And so now I'm
gonna
really
pack it up and throw it out. Have you guys seen Inside Out?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
The newest one?
It's not even the newest one. I can even go back to the first one where when they're like, this emotion, we don't want it. You know, sometimes we do that with our life. Like, I don't want that emotion right now. Yes. But then it has to somehow, it has a 180 where it comes back. And it's like, do I deal with it or do I try to throw it back out?
Throw it back out again. It can be that vicious cycle. And so now it has, for me, it's been acknowledging the feeling and saying, okay, and being willing to sit in it. And yes, somebody maybe made me feel that way. And then why did it make me feel that way? Because once I get to the why, then it's like, oh, well, that's an area of hurt. Lord, come on in here and get that broom and sweep her out, you know? So
under the rug.
Yeah. Get it fully cleaned up in there instead of just me covering it up and it being a lasting problem. So yes, I would say I have noticed that, but I think it's a process too.
And as you go through it, have you been seeing any like differences in the way that you move and how you interact with people because you have been working through this?
I would think to say yes, but I think also it's important to ask other people around you. Like you can always say, but I've healed. You know, I've healed and I'm no longer hurting others. And then everyone that interacts with you is like, no, you're still hurting me. So I definitely think I've seen personally, yes, I've seen growth and improvement. But I would think a poll should be taken.
But the thing is, like in the past, like in just in our relationship and everything, Carmen has not been very forthcoming with her emotional side of it, and she doesn't poll anybody anything. She doesn't ask how am I doing or what do you think of me or anything like that. It's just she does, and I think it
comes to a point where you're like, I don't care what you think, I'ma still do me. but it's like a small portion that's like, it'll be nice if you thought good of me though. But I still don't care what you think.
Exactly. Words out of my mouth like that.
Because I even being the third child, I think a lot of times I wouldn't ask for things, and I learned in counseling with Pastor Darryl. Shout out to him. He was like, did anyone ever tell you wasn't worthy of having these opportunities? And I was like, no, I just judge. I was like, I'm not going to ask them for anything. I'm just going to, be quiet. But that shows up in my adult life where we had this little icebreaker at work, and it was like, what's on your bucket list? I don't have one. And I don't have one because I feel like, what if I create one and someone says, no, you can't have it? I still have that little part of someone's going to tell me no, that I can't do it. So if I don't create it, I don't have to worry about it. It's not going to affect me, but it does, because you're like, wow, you guys actually have things on your list. I want that. So on my bucket list is to create a bucket list or to understand, like, Lanessa, what do we want? We can't just always go with the flow. Because in my marriage, it's like, Nessa, what do you want to do? And I'm like, whatever you going to do. In some instances, and it's like, Lanessa, why don't we know where we want to go, where we want to travel? I want to travel. I just want beautiful oceans and nice sands. But I'm like, I really want to be like, this is where I want to be because, or this is what I want to do because. And those little Lanessas is like, no, someone's going to tell you no. And so, yeah.
Because you've seen it with other things. So, Carmen, do you feel like you were also the third child? And a lot of the things that we've talked about in the past is like you didn't have a favorite color. You didn't have, like you didn't make.
I like them all. I don't want to choose.
Like you didn't make different plans. You don't like to what if anything.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing? What time do I need to show up? How much do I need to have? Or I don't want to go because so another thing, I think I can relate to that, because if you tell me we're going to do something, we're doing it in that order that you gave me. Now, when you try to deviate from it, it's like, what are you doing? What happened? Why are you trying to move away from the plan? Stick to the paper. But sometimes when you kind of throw that voice away and say, you know what, maybe I need to be on this journey or experience this different navigation to what I drew out, because I was like, A, it's going to take about 10 minutes. And then when we get to B, I have it down to the minute. So when we're like, oh, we're supposed to be home by 6, it's like, oh, but I'm learning to just enjoy, like, things are going to change, but just because they're change, how are you going to adapt? And learning to adapt in different areas when it's like, no, it's supposed to be this one. 1 + 1 is 2. Why is it showing up, differently? So I do. It's a challenge for me on that one. So yeah. I can relate to you. It could be a third child thing. Yeah.
See? But is that something why you didn't have like dream, like not dreams?
It wasn't that I didn't have
dreams, but you know what I mean.
There was a degree of contentedness that I feel like I was comfortable living in because I think that I was hyper aware of other people's needs. So if you need something and you need something,
it's like, they can't afford me.
It's like, I will be unproblematic so that you can handle this mess and this mess. Like, I understand that there's a lot of people that have needs. And I also think that some things came down to extending grace because I knew that a lot of times people will disappoint you accidentally. And so I
took it serious. It's like you intentionally, because for them, but for me, you know what? That's why I don't want anything. It's like,
you can show up for them, but not for me. Yeah. I think it was just like, I think it was like, and I think, again, like Lanessa said, I think a lot of that was judgment because it's like it's judgment for you. It was like, I'm going to be like, and it was mine under the guise of grace. So it was like, I would put the title on something biblical, so I feel like it's, the Lord working through me. So, I mean, it's just true. So, I would be like, okay, like, y'all have baseball, like, y'all used to play baseball.
Yes.
And so y'all had to do a lot with that. And so my dad would be with them, taking them to their baseball games, being at the park, they had to go to practice and all these different things. And so they will always be going to the park. And so I'll be like, okay, I'm not going to tax them in that way to be like, okay, I would like to do this or I want to go here.
Because you felt that they were too busy for you.
So
I'm going to allow them to do what and I'm not going to act.
They're spread like margarine.
I'm helping you guys out.
Yes, I'm helping you all out. I'm spread like margarine. Yeah, they're spread like margarine. I'm not going to add to that. So I was like, I am going to be unproblematic in that way. But in that effort, because it's again, you're processing these things also as a child. So you're attempting to make adult decisions with a child. Like, your logic can only extend so far when you've only lived 5 years, 6 years, 8 years,
Yeah,
10 years,
we know.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you only have so much depth that you can tap into.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was definitely like, I'm doing these things because of that. And then it just extended into my life. So it became like second nature. So it wasn't, that maybe was the root of it. And then I maybe assess a situation and I'm like, okay, well, these resources are taken up. I'm going to be unproblematic. There's no need for me to do this. And then at some point it becomes, oh, I don't want to do anything. What do you guys want to do? I'm fine with it. Like, just let me know and I'll show up, you know.
Or I won't. Like, depends on what you like. Ooh, outside. I just want to make a suggestion, but you don't have to go with it if you don't want it. But I just want to
Right. I'm going to throw it out there inside. But if y'all want to go out.
But I'm learning I deserve just as much as the next person to my left or right. So that's where I'm at. It's a process. Because, you know, it's so much to be like, I'll just do with it. I don't want to call unproblematic. I don't want to be, you want to go here and we want to go there, 2 against 1. It's like, I don't have a, you know, brain. I don't want to think about it. I'm going to just do it.
And then in some things I would be like staunchly, I'm in control of this. Yeah. Like, we're not going to let this fall to bits because I'm gonna get this together. So it was like that balance, but I think it did make my ambition. I don't think I was unambitious, but I think that I was willing to accept mediocrity in a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't or I would not have had I not been trying to just be going with the flow for other people based on an assessment or a judgment I made about a situation I didn't really maybe know about.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's interesting because you were, you had 5. It was 5 children. It was 5 children of us as well, and you had an older sister and an older brother, and she had the same. So I'm guessing y'all had very similar like outcomes. But I think it's interesting to see how each of us, because I feel like I was emotional but not emotional as a child, because I would feel my emotions in big flashes. But I think I would hold them in for so long, and then I think you were really big. You take disappointment. You take things disappoint you, and you display that disappointment. Yeah. Like, if you have a plan about doing something or going somewhere, and that thing doesn't happen, you're like, oh my gosh, my trip was canceled, and you're like showing it. I'm like, the trip was canceled.
Well,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I didn't want to go.
Things
but,
happen.
Right, life is life, and
sometimes things happen. No, it's okay.
Yeah,
but I think I felt like it was always like you're supposed to be like, well, you just didn't need to do that, or somebody else needed that more than you. And I was like, when is it my turn to get what I need?
Maybe it wasn't the time.
Yes, and it's like, and I think that was it. So the disappointment was a huge thing, but I think it was like anger. I had resentments and things as well, just because I had desires to do certain things that I just wasn't able to do. But Troy can probably attest to that. I had very big, like, my anger would flash high really fast.
But all of your emotions would. Like, if you felt anything, it would be like, and then you're like, I'm back.
But it wasn't all the time. Like,
it wasn't all the time. You might not show it at all, but whenever any of those were expressed, it was like you were expressing from all of the past. Like, if you were sad, you maybe haven't expressed all the other times that you were sad. So they will all add up. Yeah. And then it will be released on one thing, and it will be like, goodness gracious alive, like, that really hurt. It's like, no, she's had 13 hurts before this. So.
She's just, putting it in one.
Right.
Yeah. Were you very emotional?
No. Quietly. I'm a quiet emo. I don't like people to see me cry. Or I don't want people, even though I may be disappointed, I don't want someone to see that they disappointed me. If that makes sense. It probably don't. But
it makes sense.
I'm a small, I come off maybe hard, but on my inside, I'm like, this really hurts. And once I leave, I'm going to cry in my car. Or I'm going to keep this face, but I don't like this feeling how I'm feeling. So once I get to myself, I'm going to release my emotion. Yeah, that's how it was for me. Now, I'm emotional because I can be vulnerable around my spouse. So, okay, I'm emotional around my spouse now. I didn't have that person I could be really, well, my sister, you know.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lisa. But I didn't have someone I could be too emotional with. With my parents, you know, my dad was like, oh, you know, I feel like dads are like, oh, they're crying. Let me make something, you know, make them laugh. Or crying in front of my mom. It's like, girl, what you crying for? What are you crying at? Or that little thing, you're like, little. You know, so it's like, I don't want her to see me cry because she's going to think it's minor. Yeah. And I think it's big. And then, you know, brothers, you know, they're like, I guess I'll hug her. You know, I don't know what to do, you know. So now I versus crying in my car, I'm probably next to my spouse, like, oh my God. But still around people, you're not going to see me cry.
Yeah. Well, Carmen, you don't like
I don't got a spouse. I got to cry alone.
Do you cry more now than you used to?
Yes. Yeah, I'm way more sensitive. I'm like, is it age? Is it relief? Is it like the Lord healing me? Like, I don't know.
Sometimes, like, when you're in the shower and you're thinking about, it gets me every time when I'm playing music. I'm in the shower and then I'm thinking about certain things or a certain word. And I'm like, dang. I get really emotional, but the shower running, so, you know, don't get me. But sometimes you just got to get a really good cry out. And you're like, man, I didn't know I needed to release whatever that was. God, take it, because I don't want it. I like light shoulders. I don't want to feel like, what is this? So, yeah.
But do you cry, but you just be crying for... No.
I am not a... And again, you know, phases. Like I said, I was a annual crier at best. Like, it was, you weren't gonna... I mean, at best. Like,
I'm
you
crying right now.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, it's 2010. I haven't cried yet. You know, like, it would literally be like once a year. But then I was like, oh, it upped. And it was like a biannual. And I was like, okay, mid-year, end of year. It was like, okay. And then after a minute, I was like, my gosh, like, this is really touching my heart. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. I would never cry on movies or anything.
Movies.
I watched this movie and I was like, oh my gosh, these kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter anymore. I'm like, who am I? Yeah. Like, it's like, and so I think it's that at the end of the day, I think it is really... Your emotions shouldn't be controlling you, but not showing them is also your emotions controlling you. So realizing that showing them is, you be like, I don't want to show them because I don't want to be weak and I don't want people to see me like this. And it's like, okay, but I'm allowing that to control me. I feel what I feel and I'm not able to fully feel it because I'm trying to hide it. Or your emotions are controlling you, you crying all left and right. There's a balance, you know. You don't...
You're like, get yourself together.
Right. Like, and then the puppy. And then you're like going again. Like, so there's a balance. And I think that for me, I'm not saying I'm there by any means, but I definitely would admit that I'm definitely more sensitive. Like, I'll be like, my gosh, like, I'll just be having a conversation and I'll feel tears coming to my eyes. And I'm like, is this just the goodness of God? Am I just sensitive? Like, I don't know. I'm like, oh
sometimes I can feel people's emotions and I'll cry for them. I don't think in my head I'm crying for them, but I don't think that's what's really happening. But sometimes you can see hurt in people, especially in family. And sometimes it's like, I don't know what they're going through, but I feel heavy when I'm around them. And I may not be the person to, hey, you know, what's going on? Because if I'm sad and someone asks what's going on, that it just breaks it over. It breaks everything. I'm like, why are you asking those questions? Like, let me just cry internal. Yeah. But sometimes I feel people's emotions, and I'll be sitting there like, like what? I don't know, but yeah. So.
Yes.
I don't think it's age. I think it's just maybe we're tapping into maybe we are soft, and you know.
Yeah, the repressed version.
Maybe I was always this soft. I just told myself I wasn't.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking. Like, have I been tricking myself all these years? I don't know, but I think at the end of the day, like, it's like you said, it's a process. And so it's like you can look back and say, okay, I'm changing, I'm growing. And then whatever the catalyst for those changes are, like you said, like now you have that your husband to be able to be vulnerable with. And so it's like that's opened up a whole new level of vulnerability for you, because you not only do you have a person that's going to be there and you feel comfortable to say judgment free.
Yeah.
I can express what I'm going through and you aren't going to view me differently. You're not going to be like, oh gosh, girl suck it up.
What are you crying for?
Right. Right. That's a safe space, really. And I think that is really important to have. And I think that whether it's your spouse or, like you said, you had your sister like Lisa, you could be sensitive with. Like, yeah, I'll tell Ashley, I'd be like, one day I was just crying in her car, and she was just like, "You're all right, girl," you know. And I was just like, I needed this.
Like, thank you.
Yes, yeah, I needed this.
Or
And she
even,
was like,
even if it's not in person, on the phone,
You-
she's like, Lanessa, are you crying? Yeah. You like, yeah. But even with that transition, I did have my sister, but then my sister got married, and I was like, I have to share her, but I can't be upset because she's married. So I'm telling myself, it's okay if she don't have time. Like, she used to have it for you. It's okay. We don't care, she's married, So, but I was like, I need you, but I can't need you too much because you need them. And she was like, you could have still, and that was another judgment of, I felt like I can't reach out to her because she's busy. She was like, I never said I was busy. I was like, well...
yeah,
I know now.
Yeah.
So when I call,
right.
you better answer. But
Yeah, I can see how that would be, because it's a change in dynamic, and but without communication, I guess sometimes we assume certain things about marriage, I guess, and how it is going to be. It's like you have to be fully focused on this and only that, whereas it's like it didn't stop her love for you in that process.
Okay. Troy's messaging me that we've hit our time. He's like, ladies, right? This was a really good.
You can have it offline.
Yeah.
I did have one last question
Okay.
for her.
Yeah.
And I want to say, like, 2 years ago, you were at a place where you were like, this is what I want to see for my life. And in saying these are the things that I want to see for my life, God has really, you said it, and he has had it come to pass. Like, where you are now, what are some things that you would like to see in your life in the next 2, 3, 4 years?
Ooh, mystery. We speak things into existence. Honestly, I think it's going back into I don't have a plan. But of course, I would love to be where I need to be without. I don't want to put stipulations, because you can get to that 2-year mark and you're like, oh, I don't have it. But I do have desire to maybe expand a family, see what that's like. Can we take on, this 2020 blah 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 is different from 1998.
Right.
So it's like, can we afford a child? What do we need to do to? But I do want to I want to be where God wants me to be. And in saying that, it's like I feel like I have the ability to tap into different things I don't know, because I'm afraid to take risk of not knowing the unknown. So I want to be able to get over not knowing and literally being like, okay, God, what's next? And being like, So maybe I do know what I want. I want to be a little bit more stronger and just allowing God to show me. And I don't want to just blow in the wind. I still want to be able, I don't want to be like, whatever God has. But it's literally, what do he have? Like, is it going to be, expanding the family? Is it going to be a new job? Are we still going to be, a married couple? So that's What about you guys? What do you guys see in 2 years or blah, 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 blah?
Yeah.
Traveling. Getting my degree. And wherever God takes me, really. I really, like, right now, in the place that I'm in right now, I really can't see past that. Like, I would love to have a different job in the sense of I like my job and what I do, but I want to make more money. Yeah. And I have to be honest about that. I want to make more money. And I have been in a place where I have been like, I didn't want to be focused on other people's stuff and how they were doing, but I'm like, I have skills and I have abilities, and I have different things that I feel are marketable and lucrative. And I think that it's like, what is that one thing that's keeping me from getting to that point? And so now it's just like, Lord, I want to be, help me to be content where I am, but I also want to let you know that
I have these desires.
I have these desires. So I would like to make more money. I would like to continue to travel and see the world. I really would like that. I would like to be married at some point. Maybe not in the next, I don't know what the time. Yeah. So I'll just be married at some point. And then
we're gonna have to have a reunion.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh
Yeah.
I'm like, look, you guys.
And I would like to see my siblings to be married and have children and have like businesses that are booming and all these type of things. So, go ahead.
You said what? Were you shining on me when I did?
You gotta wrap yours up like the commercial.
Yeah, I thought he was looking at you, and I was like, no. But no, similarly to both of you, I don't necessarily know what I'm like. I don't really see, because like, sometimes you're like, okay, I know, like in 2 years, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to see. I don't feel like that. I'm like, Lord, keep me. Lord, keep me. I want to, I don't know from a career perspective if it will be like the same thing that I'm doing now, if it's going to be a major pivot. There are some things that he has just laid on heart. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do with that, Lord. So I just really feel like at this point, I'm like, Lord, help me to trust you in these, continue to trust you, and then be somebody you can also trust. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can give me all this stuff and then I just fumbled back. Like, I don't want to do that.
It's like, I gave you everything.
Yes. And you failed. So I don't want to
be up there like,
yeah. And I don't want to do that. So I'm like, in the next few years, I really just want I want what God wants me to have. Yes. And so whatever,
I didn't say anything.
Your face said everything. Whatever God wants me to have,
I said no words.
is what I want to be contented in that, because you can say, Lord, whatever you have for me, and you're like, Lord, I didn't mean that. So I
don't think we're on the same thing.
And so I think that I just want to be able, and then just really to still be continually just seeking him and walking with him. That will be, he'll fill in the gaps. Maybe show me what the next 2 years.
Say, I don't want to limit my 2 years. God may have something bigger,
right?
And it's not just 2 years. I gave 2 years but just like in the future, yeah. Because like you said, to limit it to 2 years, you can start getting into, I said I wanted this and it's not happening like that, and I don't ever want that to happen. But because God's timeline is not our timeline, and He has really shown that to me throughout my life. So we have to be ready and willing to do what He has called us to do. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lanessa, for
Thank you guys.
Yes.
And thank you everyone for listening and watching. We will see you in the next one.
Bye.